Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for coming tonight. It means a lot for me to bring our community together, and I'm so grateful to each and every one of you for being here. And we're going to start out with the director of the American Indian Resource Center up at UCSC, Angel Rio Tartar. Did I do that okay? Okay. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. We had instructions on this, so I want to make sure I had it right. Very thankful to be here today. My name is Angel Rio Tutar. I am Chippewa Cree from the Rocky Boy Reservation in Montana. I am also born and raised in Santa Cruz. I am second generation. My children are third generation, and had the opportunity to see the changes that have taken place in Santa Cruz since when I was a kid to now, and I'm really honored to be up at UCSC. I'm actually an alum of UCSC, and I was a former intern for the American Indian Resource Center as well as the Ethnic Resource Centers collectively. So it's an honor and privilege to be working in the community, working with the Native students on campus, and then everyone else, the students, the staff, and the faculty. It is really an honor. So I just want to give a special thanks to the committee for this invitation to be here. The land acknowledgement is a statement that recognizes the history and presence of Indigenous people and their enduring relations to the traditional homelands. Land acknowledgements help create awareness of culture, erasure of Indigenous people, and the process of colonization that are contributed to the erasure. The land acknowledgement used at UCSC was developed in partnership with the Amah Mutsun Tribal Chairman and the Amah Mutsun Relearning Program at the UCSC. So this is our land acknowledgement for Santa Cruz, UCSC. The UCSC Santa Cruz is located on the unceded territory of the Waswa-speaking Yupi tribe. The Amah Mutsun tribal band, comprised of the descendants of Indigenous people taken from the missions of Santa Cruz and San Juan Bautista during the Spanish colonization of the Central Coast, is today working hard to restore traditional stewardship, practices of the lands, and heal from historical trauma. So one thing that I wanted to bring forth today is the power of the woman in the Native tribes. Now, not all Indigenous tribes feel this way, but there's an honoring of the Native women and the power that they hold within the tribe. They hold many positions, they hold medicine, they hold healing, and that's what's important. That's what they bring to the tribe. They bring to the men, to the elders, to the children. They're the ones that help continue to pass down our traditions and our cultures from one generation to another. And without that strength to carry on, we would not be where we are today. So we are always looking to our ancestors for their strength, their support, and their guidance, so that we are moving in the positive and forward direction to care for one another, to take care of one another, and to respect one another. So I want to close this up. So Paula Gunn Allen captures the spirit of today's Native women. And their spirit, if their spirit can be captured in such a brief paragraph when she says, "We survive war and conquest. We survive colonization, accumulations, assimilation. We survive beating, rape, starvations, manipulation, sterilization, abandonment, neglect, death of our children, our loved ones, destruction of our land, our homes, our past, and our future. We survive, and we do more than just survive. We bond, we care, we fight, we teach, we nurse, we bear, we feed, we earn, we laugh, we love. We hang in there no matter what. Thank you.
My name is Ann Simonton, and I'm with the Commission for the Prevention of Violence Against Women. And it's important for us to remember that according to the national statistics, RAINN in particular, Native American women are twice as likely to be raped. The statistics for who rapes them is 41% are strangers. That's very unusual. Generally, the people that rape women and people are known to them, well known to them, or casually known to them, but they're known. And that they're also of the white race. Just a little bit of tidbit before I introduce my good friend Tammy Brown, who is the legendary voice of Lost American Jazz Book. She won the Best Jazz with Vocals album during the 18th Independent Music Awards. She's performed with music icons, including Quincy Jones, Alan Parsons, Bobby McFerrin, Stanley Jordan, just to name a few. And she's currently singing every Monday at the Freight and Salvage in Berkeley with Bobby McFerrin. And she's going to be performing with Elie Mambaza, whose music originates from the roots of the Congo, Brazzaville, Africa. Elie is a survivor and feels deep gratitude for his life and music. Elie's goal is to bring music to the world so people can feel happiness and understand that life is life, people are people everywhere, and even in the midst of terrible suffering. Please give a warm welcome to both Tammy and Elie Mambaza. Thank you.
Lets you know it's time to get up and stand up. Stand up for your rights. Stand up what's right. Stand up for each other. We are all connected. Preacher man, don't tell me heaven is under the earth. I know you don't know what life is really worth. It's not all that glitters is gold. Half the story has never been told. Now you see the light. Oh, stand up for your rights. Get up, stand up, everybody. Stand up for your rights. Get up, stand up. Don't give up the fight. Most people think, great God, he comes from the sky. Take away everything and make everybody feel high. If you know what life is worth, you will look for yours on earth. Now you see the light. Yeah, stand up for your rights. Get up, stand up, everybody. Stand up for your rights. Get up, stand up, oh, don't give up the fight, no. Get up, stand up. Everybody, stand up for your rights. Get up, stand up. Oh, don't give up the fight. Sing it with me if you know it. Get up, stand up, everybody. Oh, you gotta get up, stand up, everybody. Don't give up the fight. One more time and get up. Oh, don't get. Don't give up, don't give up, don't give up the fight.
Yes, Anne's neighbor and friend and lover of good food. We've belonged to an amazing group of cooking and eating, as well as hang out at the gym together. I'm speaking tonight inspired by the feminist anthem that came from Chile in 2019, El Violador Eres Tú. This is an anthem that went viral around the world as it sang out and danced out and shouted out against femicide, against the murder of girls and women, against the disappearances. And it said, Es femicidio, impunidad para mi asesino, es la desaparición, es la violación, es la culpa y la culpa no era mía, ni dónde estaba, ni cómo vestía, el violador eres tú. It's femicide, impunity for the murderer. It's the disappearance, it's the violation. It was not my fault or the fault of what I wore or where I was. The violator is you. Today I speak as an ecofeminist, something I have clung to with my fingernails since those who hated the Cyborg Manifesto tried to expel me, but failed. I also speak as an ecosexual, a friend of Annie Sprinkle, a former sex worker, and of Beth Stevens, a writer and author and filmmaker. I speak for the love of the earth, for the corporeality and sensuality and singing and joy and marrying the mud and marrying the clouds and marrying the fog that Beth and Annie have done repeatedly in their performance of ecosexuality and ecofeminism for love and peace building. I also want to think tonight that femicide is a violation of kin, of making kin, of women, of all things of the earth, that making kin is our job and our joy. Think about the linked violences of femicide and other kinds of violence and disappearances against women and girls in indigenous America, in Iran, in Mexico, in California, in Santa Cruz. Feel the links of the excess deaths and mass suffering caused by greed, extraction, racism, misogyny, war, inequality, climate violence, extinctions of more than humans, of disappearances of so many numbers and species. Remember that feminist justice is multi-species justice, linking women and girls and all those building peace and nonviolence of whatever kind and whatever gender. So the violator is not just you, it's also me when I am silent or careless or complicit. It's me when I fail in solidarity. Make kin across kinds. Never has the time to rebel to build worlds that deserve a present and a future been more urgent. Never has the need for multi-species, feminist, speculative imagination been greater. El Violador deserves to disappear, not the women and girls and all the other peace builders of the earth. We are earth lovers, and we are legion. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Next, we have Bhavananda Lodki. She's a 40-year resident of Santa Cruz who dedicates her life to a spiritual pathway. She believes the greatest work we can do lies within ourselves, present in each and every moment, in each step, within each breath. Join me in welcoming Bhavananda Lodki.
Good evening. Good evening. There are cracks everywhere. We are hospicing and deathing ourselves and each other. We are hospicing and deathing modernity. We've had to slow down. We've had to witness and recognize the cracks, our own cracks, our discomforts, anxieties, fears, the messiness, anger, the shit, alongside feeling othered and not belonging. We are questioning, informing, awakening, owning up and growing up in order to step up and show up. We are realizing and understanding the underbelly of our systems of oppression and violence, systems that have harmed all of us and shaped all of us and will continue to do so. Wrapped in a blanket worn out and full of holes and complexities. We question, and we will seek with bravery and courage the answers to those questions. We will stop assuming that going straight is the only way, but maybe zigzagging holds worth and potential as well. We have woven a net of longing to be visible, to be heard, to exist free from harm and violence and social and racial injustice. The poem that I will offer, entitled "Won't You Celebrate with Me?" written by poet and mother Lucille Clifton, is her voice, her gift, and calling forth in celebration that we are alive, that we are the compost as well as the seedlings, that we are the midwives birthing into form a new world of kindness, of compassion, of care, and love in action. This is you, this is me, and this is we. Won't you celebrate with me what I have shaped into a kind of life I had no model? Born in Babylon, both non-white and woman, what did I see to be except myself? I made it up here on this bridge between starshine and clay. My one hand holding tight to my other hand. Come, won't you celebrate with me that every day, something Something has tried to kill me and has failed. Won't you celebrate with me?
Next, we have Liliana Sturgis, who is from the Immigration Project that works with the Community Action Board here in Santa Cruz. Liliana specializes in family-based immigration, including immigration relief for victims of crime. Liliana is a child of immigrants who fled Nicaragua during the Civil War. So she's intimately familiar with the struggles that the immigrant and indigent families face today. Let's welcome to the stage Liliana.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me okay? It's so short, sorry. So I am an immigration attorney, and we specialize in all kinds of family-based immigration, but my work centers on victims of crime, and specifically that is domestic violence and sexual violence. And what we do is provide opportunities and pathways to immigrants who have been the victims of these kinds of crimes to forge new lives. We are able to connect them with services in the community, and to highlight some of the work that we do, I'll share a client story of mine. One day I was at work and a client walked through the hallways knocking on doors. She had just left her abusive husband and was very visibly pregnant. She was now homeless, jobless, had no money, no resources, and had nowhere to go. So she was connected with me, and I was able to help her to file her police report, to make sure that it was done correctly and accurately because there was a language barrier. And from then, we started building the blocks to recovery for her. She now has a work permit. She is on her way to becoming a resident. She no longer is living in the tough shed of a neighbor. She has her own place. She has now custody of her children because that was part of the abuse. And she is very much a success story for us because she is able to move forward with dignity and get all the resources that she needs. Our clients face barriers mainly with language in reporting their violence, in receiving physical and mental health services, and then being able to do so without fear of deportation. So we are here for the community, and we'd like to highlight our work and invite you to be supportive of survivors, no matter their socioeconomic background, their race, or their immigration status. And we thank you very much for your time this evening.
Hi, everyone. My name is Karen Madura, and I'm currently a commissioner for the Commission for the Prevention of Violence Against Women in the City of Santa Cruz. Our next speaker, thank you. Our next speaker is Tia McCord, who is a local organizer and activist, and she helped create a recent march for reproductive justice in Santa Cruz on the west side. Please welcome up to the stage, Tia McCord.
Good evening, everyone. I wasn't going to speak today. I haven't been really feeling well or doing well. Just some personal things. I was told that I have PTSD, which makes me really anxious and a little depressed. And sometimes when I get emotional, I just shut down. And a lot of the circumstances that created that diagnosis are related to me being a woman. But then I got in a car accident about 3 hours ago. Thank you. You're supposed to laugh. It's supposed to be funny. I have on my fingers, my toes. I'm good. And it kind of just changed my mind. And I'm actually going to be doing something different than what I originally planned. I'm going to be reading a poem. Initially, this poem was to describe some pretty bad relationships that I've been in, but I think it's also reflective of a woman's relationship with the world. You refuse to see the light that shone through all my cracks. It is not my fault that I wasn't born smooth, that I am jagged. with layers so thin you could crush them in your hands, the same hands that pushed me away because I was too much, too fragile, too damaged. And it's not like I asked to be in pieces, and I didn't ask you to put me back together. I just wanted you to hold my fragments. I'd rearranged myself so many times, I just thought that you could be the glue that finally kept me together. I just wanted to feel whole, but instead you ground me down even smaller, so small that I turned to dust, granules that floated in the wind when you left me behind. But it was never your job to witness my brilliance. You were there to break me down until I collapsed, meaning the only thing left was my brightness, illuminating through particles. And for that, I thank you.
Next, we will bring up Shirley Flores Munoz, who teaches in the Women's Studies and History Department at Cabrillo College. She's been a champion of gender equity and has established programs that encourage and support social justice. Ms. Munoz writes poetry to express love and memories. Join me in welcoming Shirley Flores Munoz.
Thank you so much for coming out tonight. You are a wave of hope right in front of me. I am the daughter of Elvira, who was the daughter of Antonia, and Feliciana was my grandmother. But that is only part of me. The advantage that I've had is I'm also the conduit of Kamla, who was the mother of Chloe. And so I stand in the middle looking at the history and looking at the future. And it gives me a great delight and a great hope. I'm a little happy all the time. But I have to tell you that November the 9th of 2016, I remembered Simone Weil's words. The conscious slave is much better off than the unconscious slave. And on that morning, as my head hit the table, the desk, and I had very little energy to lift it, I thought about her statement and how one layer of naivete on my part left. And I looked out and I said, where do I live? Who are my citizenry, my compatriots? Who are we here in this country? So, along with you, I suffered 4 years, but halfway into it, as we were going through the debauchery of the Supreme Court selection, I watched. I'm sure we all watched intently. And I thought of my granddaughter, so I wrote a poem for her. Antigone lives. I will always have my granddaughter's back. There is a law in this country that supersedes all other laws, and that is patriarchy, the rule of the father. This rule will trump any Bill of Rights or Constitution. It is ages old and will continue to be reinforced by both men and women. This is the only explanation for the election and the subsequent events of the past 2 years. A young boy accosts a young teenage girl. Against her will, he forces himself on her. At the time, there were no words, no laws of protection, no friends, no feminist sensibilities to protect her. She left that bedroom scene victimized for life, haunted by the weight of his body holding her down, by his hand over her mouth, silencing her, by the fear she felt. A fear that kept her silenced, confused, and tormented for the whole of her life. Years later, this same boy, now a grown man, decides to put himself forward as a candidate to sit on the highest court of the land, the Supreme Court. Like myself, this young girl, now a woman, believed in the democratic principles of this country. The legislator makes the laws, the judiciary carries them forward, finds them unconstitutional, and rejects them. So when her perpetrator decided to announce himself as a candidate to sit on this highest court of the land, she realized that she could no longer sit in silence. She had to come forth with the truth as a citizen of this democracy, a true daughter of Antigone. She was compelled to bring forth the truth, not as a woman, but more as a citizen. She did not ask for judgment against her victimization, only that he not be promoted to this highest seat of the land. We all watched and listened, many of us dismayed. We witnessed as her testimony carried little weight. His nomination went forward, and today he sits on the Supreme Court in a position to do even more harm to women. I will always have my granddaughter's back because of the way men watched and did nothing. Men as the audience to this drama did nothing to protect women or to rectify injustice or even to atone for their own past transgressions. Instead of standing up for justice, they were complicit. They protected their own interests and privilege. The patriarchy spoke loud and clear. It was within the right of every man to violate and dominate any woman. Both women and men silently protected the rights of men, their sons, husbands, fathers, brothers, and yes, even the president. It was within the rights of these men to terrorize women. This is why I will always have the back of my granddaughter. This is the world being handed to all our granddaughters. Those of us who know will rise up and bravely speak. Those of us who know will remain vigil until the ghost of death takes us from this world. I am one of those who know. This knowledge keeps me awake at night, vigilant, alert to the sounds of the drumming justice. I hear it. When enough of us hear it and are willing to stand up to our brothers, husbands, fathers, sons, there will be a wailing throughout this nation. Only then will the healing of the world take place. Thank you, Christine Blasey Ford, for your voice of courage. I am one that did hear you. Thank you.
That was beautiful. Next up is Delphine Batista. They are the director of the Cantu Queer Resource Center. Thank you for being part of this celebration. Welcome, Delphine.
Don't like speaking into phallic symbols, but it is what it is. Oh, thank you. What do we want? Really, folks, we're at a rally. What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? Thank you. Amen to that. Buenas tardes a todas, a todos, y a todes. As was shared, my name is Delphine, and I serve as the director of the Lionel Cantu Queer Resource Center at UCSC, and my pronouns are they, them. Many thanks to Ann Simonton, the commission and committee, and to all who made this rally and march possible. Many thanks to all of you for being present and for those who are in solidarity from a distance for committing and recommitting to ending violence in all its forms. To all victims and survivors, we believe you. You are not alone. Solidarity tonight and solidarity always. My words are dedicated to queer and trans survivors and in honor of the women in my family who are survivors of relational violence in the forms of child sexual abuse and domestic violence. For my mother, my sisters, mi abuela, your stories are present. I would like us to have a moment of silence to honor the lives and memories, the 4,042 trans and gender diverse people killed in 80 countries between January 2008 and September 2021. To date, in this year, 31 trans people have been killed here in the United States. And these are just the stories we know, as often violence towards trans people, especially trans people of color, goes unreported and misreported. And so please join me in taking a moment of silence. Muchas gracias. We mourn, we remember, we rage, and we commit ourselves to fighting like hell for the living. For 40 years, this committee has worked throughout Santa Cruz to raise awareness about the realities of domestic violence, to advocate for policies and resources that center the lives of those impacted by sexual, domestic, and gender-based violence, and to call on our community to transform systems that victimize and re-victimize those experiencing and living through violence. Sadly, the work of this commission and the work of all of us here tonight is not yet over. There is much to celebrate, but there is still much work to be done as sexual and domestic violence have not yet ended. They continue and tragically have taken on new forms of shattering and breaking lives. Tonight is about lifting up victims and survivors who are claiming and reclaiming and proclaiming their voices, experiences, and stories of not only surviving, but of thriving. We must continue to intentionally counter violent systems. One way of doing that is affirming and reaffirming joy and resilience. We often get caught up in the oppression that we neglect to honor how folks are overcoming trials and challenges in the now, even by the simple act of getting out of bed and just getting through the day. We honor the pain and we honor the embodied hope. Today and every day is about recognizing the amazingness of survivors and accomplices who tirelessly fight to end pervasive dynamics of violence through rallies such as the one here today, social media posts, through voting, through fundraising, and just by simply being present. A reminder to folks here tonight, ally is not a self-proclaimed or self-congratulatory title. It is active and embodied commitment to make sure those who are voiceless or whose voices are ignored get heard and amplified. White folks, make sure to center people of color when you're countering racism. Non-LGBTQ folks, make sure you are centering those of us who are queer and trans when you are countering homophobia, biphobia, and transphobia. Men, make sure you are centering women of all genders and sexualities when you're countering sexism. Ally is a title earned and gifted by those we are in solidarity with, period. Ending violence must include the realities. The rates of sexual assault on bisexual women are higher compared to those of other sexual identities. The growing number of men, LGBT and non-LGBT, who are coming forward to share their stories, but are often told that men cannot get raped, and we force them into closets of toxic masculinity. LGBTQ youth are more vulnerable to be victims of sex trafficking due to higher runaway rates that result from family and community rejection, discrimination, and violence. The reality is that people who live with disabilities are often targeted because they are seen as easy targets and expendable. Our complex and multifaceted advocacy must acknowledge the intersections of oppression that connect sexual and domestic violence with racism, homophobia, biphobia, transphobia, ableism, classism, and other personal and systemic injustices. Ending violence takes on many forms. It includes access to comprehensive reproductive health care for all, immigration reform in support of DACA students, access to drinkable water and the ending of food deserts, includes Indigenous solidarity beyond just reading land acknowledgements, but actually centering Indigenous lives, practices, and narratives, fighting for affordable housing here in Santa Cruz, ensuring that trans people such as myself are protected in the workplace and in housing, access to equal and equitable education and healthcare for everyone and not just the rich, and in the simple offering of a sorry of solidarity when someone shares their story. In dismantling systems of oppression, we must also affirm the intersections of resilience. For when one group receives support and liberation, it ripples onto other groups. To slightly tweak the words of Desmond Tutu, our surviving and thriving is bound up. We can only survive and thrive when we survive and thrive together. Trans actress and activist Laverne Cox reminds us that everyday existence is a form of resistance in a world that tells me as a trans person that I should not exist. Existence as resistance is powerful. However, living our lives should not be a daily fight to have our experiences, voices, and lived experiences recognized. Living should just be about living and being, period. I close with the words of survivor, poet, prophet, and ally, Dr. Maya Angelou. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust I'll rise. You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still like air I'll rise. May all of us here tonight rise. May we rage. May we continue to fight like hell to end violence today and always. Muchas gracias. Sí se puede.
Thank you. Next up, we are happy to welcome up Liz Oliman from the Homeless Coalition to speak about her experiences. Welcome.
Thank you so much for an opportunity to be included as a member of this community. We are not homeless. We live in Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz is our home. I came to this a lot differently than most people. I've been housed all my life, and when 2 acres and a pond and an orchard got to be too much and my kids moved out and flew the nest, my husband became disabled, I decided this was a great retirement. I get to live on the beach when I want to. You know, it's not as bad as it might be. In some other places, this is a very accepting community and a very warm and loving community, and it always has been. And I don't care what everybody says about it changing and all of that. It's not true. I see smiles in people's eyes when they see us, and there is a love that's waiting to be reignited. I think it starts with respect. From us to you, from you to us. Acceptance as a human being. So I got here and I hit the streets, and one day I was at a homeless person's health project, and a woman that I now know came clutching her backside and with just face contorted in agony, and said that she squeezed out the words that she had been gang raped on the river for the last 2.5 hours. This was the middle of the afternoon. And screamed for help for 2.5 hours while a gang of strangers raped her anally in the river. And this is a strong woman, a woman who was able to take care of herself. She, she's dresses okay and she eats, and, just devastated her. And so she was talked into staying at HPHP and to get examined. And so the examiner determined that she did indeed have something happen to her. And so she was supposed to either go to the hospital to get a rape kit done or wait there at HPHP for a couple of hours for them to send someone from the hospital to do a rape kit. Now, this happened to a friend of mine a couple of years ago up in Nevada County. I had to drive her down in the middle of the night, kicking and screaming the whole way to Sacramento. It's like at that time of the night, we made it in an hour and 45 minutes, but it was a long ride. And she said that she could get a rape kit done. And the reason for this is because hospitals don't offer the training program to their nurses that the nurses would gladly take. Every hospital in California could have a nurse always on duty who could do a rape kit, because getting a woman to go into the hospital, 300 and, what was the statistics, 100, out of 1,000 rapes, 350 are reported. Part of that is because what you want to do is take a shower and get those clothes off of you and forget what happened. You don't want to sit there waiting for a speculum and all those questions. You just want to get it over with and go home. So 350 out of 1,000. Out of those, 25 wind up in prison. 1,000, that's a lot of guys. That's a lot of assaulters getting away with it. 1 out of 3 guys. I talked to a lot of the homeless guys out here. They've all been assaulted in one way or another, and some of them still continue to be assaulted. Every single day, you guys, every single day, you see these women, especially the ones that scream on the street corners and just seem completely out of it. That's a protective mechanism that they've developed because they don't know when they go to sleep at night if somebody's going to wake them up in the middle of the night, setting their head on fire or kicking them or, God forbid, invading their private parts because they're just not safe out there. And if you can find guys to camp with that'll keep you safe, some of them, usually, virtually all of them, want payment. You know, they're going to crawl into their sleeping bag and you'll quietly give them what they want because it's better than the alternative. For eating, for drugs, of course, for shelter. Women are expected to deliver, right? Cash, grass, or ass. Nobody rides for free. It's been that way since those guys raped the sister of Jacob's sons in the Bible. You know, it's a long time. Women have always been just downed on, you know, because we don't count as much. So thank you for making the homeless people here count, because Santa Cruz is our home and y'all are our neighbors. And we guard the streets for your daughters at night. We're out there, right? So thank you very much, and don't forget about us. And these rallies need to happen more often, man. We need some self-defense classes. We need to see that movie over and over again. Thank you so much for all of your work.
Next up is City Council member Shebra Kalantari Johnson, who will share a recent resolution passed by the Santa Cruz City Council about Iranian women. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Salam be hamagi. My name is Shebra Kalantari Johnson, a member of the Santa Cruz City Council. I want to thank the members of the Commission for the Prevention of Violence Against Women for the work that you do and the service that you give to our community and this event tonight. And I want to thank all of you for being here. What we do matters, not just here in Santa Cruz in our community, but globally. As an Iranian American woman, I have watched for almost my entire life, the women of Iran suffer violence at the hands of the Iranian government. 43 years of an oppressive regime that's caused pain and death to hundreds and thousands of women. Well, no more. They are standing up and they are fighting back. What we do, yes, thank you. And what we do here does matter. They're listening, they're watching. I'm gonna read you just some excerpts of the Santa Cruz City Council's resolution that condemns these acts of violence and stands in solidarity with the women of Iran that was unanimously approved. Whereas protests broke out across Iran after a 22-year-old Iranian woman, Mahsa Amini, died after being arrested by the morality police for violating the Islamic dress code, hijab, for women on September 16th, 2022. Whereas protesters have taken to the streets in more than 50 cities, towns, and villages across Iran, and reports indicate that Iranian security forces have used lethal force in arresting thousands and killing upwards of 130 people, now more than 200, during the demonstrations. 23 of them children, by the way. Whereas Iranian women are at risk of suffering brutality and death for perceived violations of a dress code imposed on them by others, men. Whereas bodily autonomy is a human right, whether a woman chooses to wear the hijab or not. Whereas the Santa Cruz City Council condemns those who have routinely and systematically violated human rights, restricted freedom of peaceful assembly and association, and freedom of opinion and expression. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Santa Cruz City Council stands in solidarity with the courageous people in Iran protesting. Thank you. Their chant is Zan, Zendegi, Azadi. Women, life, freedom. So I invite you all to stand in solidarity with the women of Iran and just chant with me. Zan, Zendegi, Azadi. Zan, Zendegi, Azadi. Thank you.
Next, we invite community organizer, educator, and Justice and Gender Commissioner for Santa Cruz County, Celeste Gutierrez. Welcome, Celeste.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Celeste Gutierrez. Thank you all for being here in solidarity. This year, the Commission for the Prevention of Violence Against Women celebrates its 40th anniversary, and we are gathered here today to honor the work that so many people, not just women, have done to support these efforts and the work that needs to be done. Although there has historically been an emphasis by the Commission on addressing sexual assault, sexual harassment, and domestic violence, there are other forms of violence against women and people in our community that must also be addressed. Historically, across the United States, women have earned less than their male counterparts, and brown and Black women in particular have earned even less than that. It means that single mothers and single women have to work harder just to keep a roof over our heads and our children fed. This is a form of socioeconomic violence against women. I work in education, which is not the most lucrative career field, and with Santa Cruz County being the second most expensive rental housing market in the nation, that makes it even harder for women like me to be able to survive in this community. It makes me wonder whether or not this community really cares about me and the diversity, equity, and inclusion it claims to value. I have watched and heard some of our elected women leaders talk about how much they care about women who are experiencing poverty, that they care about mental health, that they care about women of color, that they care about single mothers, they care about women who are homeless and who are struggling to make it in this community. And the sad thing is, I have seen these same women vote against programs, services, and policies that would actually help these women, women like me. This is why it is important that we are working with and supporting people in this community who will take action and fight for the values that we share around protecting women from all forms of violence, including socioeconomic violence. These don't have to be women who are fighting for women. They can be men, LGBTQIA, non-binary, people of color, white, so long as they're truly fighting for our rights. We should see them as allies because when they need us, we will be there for them as well. Because when we look at what's happening here in America at the federal level, there are women who are trying to take rights away from other women across our nation. A woman, Supreme Court Justice, voted to overturn Roe v. Wade. 4 men and 1 woman voted to overturn Roe v. Wade. And there are other men and women who are fighting against that. Here in Santa Cruz County, there have been women leaders that have voted against tenant protections, against increasing the percentage of affordable housing in new developments, and have voted to cut funding to organizations that support women's reproductive rights like Planned Parenthood. And there are male leaders who have fought against these cuts and fought for the kinds of policies and programs that would protect women. So when it comes to who is going to work to prevent violence against women, we need to look past gender, look past their identity, and look at what they stand for, because that is what really matters, and we need to look closely at people's actions. We need to continue to prevent violence against women. At the same time, socioeconomic violence against women is real. It is happening right here and right now in Santa Cruz County, and let's support people who are willing to help us fight it. Thank you.
Thank you, Celeste. Next up, we have Amy Chen Mills, who is a feminist, climate activist, author, and coach. She's been active in social justice movements, especially in support of Chinese and Asian Americans in the Monterey Bay region. Welcome up, Amy Chen Mills.
Thank you. I know it's getting cold. Feels like we should start marching soon. I think that's coming. Thanks to the commission for inviting me to speak. I heard Tammy Brown say that there's a lot going on. That's what it feels like to me and to a lot of us. So I was going to make a speech, but it turned into kind of a poem because poems hold more for me, you know, like they're whole. So this is called Now Is the Time. It's a speech and a poem. I call it prosody. Wisely or unwisely, I've been watching The Handmaid's Tale lately. Cursed be the fruit. It is a dystopian vision of patriarchy and religion and violence upon women that is awful, and also here and now in Iran, Afghanistan, Saudi Arabia, Hungary, Poland, Somalia, and Guinea, and everywhere where girls, women, gay people, and they people are attacked in the fury and rage of what I call the man lash, backlash, white lash, straight lash, power play, and here it is now in the US of A. It is estimated 513,000 girls and women in the US have experienced or are at risk for female genital mutilation or cutting. 500,000. For me, the women authors, activists, and visionaries see most clearly Margaret Atwood, Star Hawk, Octavia Butler, LaDonna Brave Bull Allard, Greta Thunberg, Winona LaDuke, Robin Wall Kimmerer, Vanessa Nakate, Grace Lee Boggs. Woo! Grace Lee Boggs, please read her. It is they who understand the pain and terror that have reigned and will rain down on women, children, and the marginalized when, and if, still if, maybe male authoritarianism and Christo-fascism take over. Everything is happening now. All the struggles converge now. When I think of masculine and feminine just as energies, I think of squares and circles, the hard edges and sharp-pointed corners of squares, huge buildings and prisons and jails, growth, endless growth and development, contrasted with the roundness of circles, inclusion, how they overlap in Venn diagrams of solidarity. There is no doubt in my mind that what is needed now and necessary for our Mother Earth, also raped, also plundered, for women, for our allies and brothers and sisters, for all of our survival, is the softness and roundness of honoring and loving and holding and caring for and tending to, listening. So how do we honor the rivers and ocean and forests and fields and wetlands in this place, the food we grow, the soils we tend, while we teeter on the brink of planetary destruction? How do we honor the descendants of the Awaswa-speaking people, the Amamutsan and others here at this time? We must do this honoring at this time in this place, which are the only time and only place we have left to us. How do we gather our softness and roundness into courage, gather our strength and our rage to make a cutting blade? How can we be the velvet fist in the iron glove? How can we change our own city, our own region in radical ways, in feminine ways, working in circles? The time is now. There is no other time. What will we do?
Thank you so much, Amy. And we have one poem, and then Yalalati will be coming up. I'm sorry it's taking a while, but we wanted to give voice to the voiceless, and so it takes a while. So we have to be patient. Yeah, well, that's why we're giving them this. Elbina Batala Rafizadeh is going to be speaking next. She's a retired public health nurse from the Santa Cruz County, 32-year resident of Santa Cruz. She promotes universal health care and now Medicare for all. She advocates for an equitable access to higher education by addressing barriers related to racial, cultural, and income inequalities. Please join me in welcoming Elbina up to the mic. Thank you.
I think you can hear me. I just feel very honored to be here among all of you, and I'm really grateful to. Oops. Okay. Yeah, I'm a little short. I'm really grateful to Anne for inviting me here. I wrote this poem after watching PBS multiple times and over what's happening in Iran. I have family over there. I married an Iranian man who passed a while ago, but I'm still in touch with his family. And those images of what happened to this 22-year-old girl inspired me to write this poem. And this poem was inspired by the alleged murder of Mahsa Jina Amini, and it could be, I'm not sure, I see two different spellings, a Kurdish Persian from northwest Iran, and who was detained at the Shahid Haqqani metro in Tehran by the Guidance Patrol, the Iranian morality police, who detain and punish women who did not follow a proper dress code. After she was detained on September 13th, 2022, she was sent to a hospital. Her medical records show that she suffered bruises on her legs and face and head, injuries likely caused by a violent blow. She died while in a coma 3 days later on September 16th, 2022. And if you've been watching the news, you know that a 17-year-old young woman whose name, I wish I could say her name, has since died, and as Shebra had also mentioned. And this poem is really about all of the injustices to women who died under political injustice. So it's called Her Final Breath. Tuesday, September 13th, 2022. Today is going to be a good day, she tells herself, as she pulls her hijab slightly over her forehead, enough to cover her hair, but allows just enough, just a few strands to scatter. Freedom for her hair, though slight. She looks into the mirror and turns her head from side to side. More strands of hair loosely fall. She smiles. More hair freedom. She will be surrounded by her family, safe from the patrol who punish women for these little things. She will see her little brother, parents, and cousin, maybe kebab in Tehran, maybe shopping, maybe ice cream. No more masks. She will hug them hello like before. COVID vaccines are good now. We can breathe better. Last check. Long black summer coat covers her jeans. Black matching shoes reveals ankles, but no toes. Deep breath. Few strands of hair fluttering around her face. She is covered from head to toe. She is safe. Before she leaves, one last look around her sanctuary during COVID. Flowers on the table, matching pillows on the couch. Her family will visit here soon. She will prepare khoresht and khorba sabzi. They will be happy to taste the food she learned how to cook during COVID lockdown. Maybe next time, but today she will go to Tehran. Friday, September 16th, 2022. She lay on a hospital bed. She cannot feel anything. She is confused, listening to the voices around her. Brain dead, coma. She cannot move her arms and legs. Her eyelids will not open. She screams, but no one can hear. Let me out. Maman, Baba, where are you? Help me. Her tears do not emerge, trapped in her body that cannot obey. Her heart still beats. That is all she has. Her heart alone is not enough. She cannot breathe. Help me, she cries in the silence. God, help me. Khodaya, kamak konid. Khodaya, where are you? God's ultimate mercy, the peaceful abyss. She takes her final breath. Her name is Masa Gina Amini. She was 22 years old. She died on a Friday, Al-Jum'ah, day of worship. Oh, you believe when you are called to Friday prayer, hasten to remember to the remembrance of God and leave off trade. Was she remembered that day by the military police who punished her for the strands of hair that fell around her face? May she rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now we have Yala Latte, and they're going to teach us a song. We have signs and chants. We'd also, I noticed Monica is here, and I wanted to give honor to your daughter who died here in our town, and just for us all to take a moment of silence. That she's here as a grieving mother who has lost her daughter to intimate partner violence. She was living in an RV, and the police tried to contact her. This guy that was dangerous and stalking her was out, and she didn't get the message. They didn't even try to call. I know that there was a real problem with the police following up when that happened, and it does need to change. Thank you for being here, Monica. And Yalalati, come onto the stage, and if there's any way we can put these so they work for you better, is it okay?
Here's a mic for the last words. Go ahead and turn it on when you're ready.
Hey everybody, I'm Heather Houston. This is my choir, Yalalati. And wow, such sobering speeches tonight. Thank you everybody so much for your poetry and your words. And thank you everybody who's here. This song was written for all of the powerful movements that are happening in our nation and around the world. It's an original. I'll sing one line at a time and have you sing it back to me. Sound good? Oh, take my hand now, yes, you belong. Oh, take my hand now, yes, you belong. And lift your voice, now we'll sing this song. And lift your voice, now we'll sing this song. And we will root down into the ground now. And we will root down into the ground now. We're rising strong, yeah, we're rising strong. We're rising strong, yeah, we're rising strong together. Oh, take my hand now, yes, you belong. And lift your voice, and lift your voice. Now we'll sing this song, and we'll root, and we will root down into the ground. Now we're rising strong, yeah, we're rising strong again. Oh, take my hand now, yes, you belong. And lift your voice, and lift your voice. Now we'll sing this song, and we will root, and we will root down into the ground. Now we're rising strong, yeah, we're rising strong. And we are warriors of the light. And we are warriors of the light. And we are stronger when we unite. And we are stronger when we unite. We are here to waken the love. We are here to waken the love. We are rising strong, yeah, we're rising strong. We are rising strong, yeah, we're rising strong. Let's try that part together. And we are warriors of the light. And we are stronger when we unite. We are here to waken the love. We are rising strong, yeah, we're rising strong. And we are warriors of the light. And we are stronger when we unite. We are here to awaken the love. We are rising strong. Yeah, we're rising strong. Oh, take my hand now, yes, you belong. And lift your voice now, we'll sing this song. And we will root down into the ground. Now we're rising strong. Yeah, we're rising strong. Sing with us. Oh, take my hand now, yes, you belong. And lift your voice now, we'll sing this song. And we will root down into the ground. Now we're rising strong. Yeah, we're rising strong. Oh, take my hand now, yes, you belong. And lift your voice now, we'll sing the song. We are strong. Down into the ground. Now we're rising strong. Yeah, we're rising strong. Oh, take my hand now, yes, you belong. And lift your voice now, we'll sing the song. We are strong. Down into the ground. Now we're rising strong. Yeah, and we are warriors of the light. And we are warriors of the light. That we are stronger when we unite. We are here to awaken the love. We are rising strong. Yeah, we're rising strong. And we take my hand now, yes, you belong. And lift your voice now, we'll sing this song. And we will reach down into the ground. Now we're rising strong. Yeah, we're rising strong. And we are warriors of the light. And we are stronger when we unite. We are here to awaken the love. We are rising strong. Yeah, we're rising strong. And we are warriors. Thank you, everybody.